rolling in. So yeah, this is, as you might know, or you might have heard, this is a meditation group. So Dharma and discussion, and we don't necessarily rolling in. Oh, okay. Hold on, let me turn that on. So yeah, sorry, I'm just doing some recording. So anyway, welcome, and this is slightly different than a refuge recovery meeting, but not much, because we're still talking about Buddhism, and we're talking about recovering from a afflicted mind, which is relative to all beings. So thanks for checking us out, and welcome to those of you who just piped in, and welcome to those of you in the future who are checking us out on YouTube. Glad you're here. Let's go ahead and we're going to get started. Maybe we'll give it a minute or two. It's just 7:30, so let's see. I guess I could give a couple announcements. So one announcement is that starting next week, so glad you guys are here. Starting next week, I will be using a different Zoom link. So the in-person will remain the same time, same place, and the Zoom link, the Zoom meeting will also be the same time and the same place, but the Zoom link will be updated. And the best way to, and so I've kind of finally sorted all that out, and the best way to get the link to my class is to go to my website, which is jasonmurphymft.com. And then there's a kind of a sign up for events and classes, and then that will put you in my email list where I will send everyone out the new Zoom link to the, to my this class. So just starting next week, it'll be a new link. This link will also be for like a month or so. The new link will be on the Against the Stream site under my class Wednesday night. So for a while. So yeah. So that's happening. And then I'm also looking at and thinking about doing some, like a day-long, using some sound and some qigong, and maybe even having some just other kinds of movement. So maybe we'll do qigong and then some meditation and then some teaching, some practicing, and maybe some yoga or something like that in the near future. I want to kind of establish into this kind of new link, and I have a few kind of bells and whistles I got to get put up. So if you're interested in that, you'll find out about that through my website, and pretty soon I'll have a Rebel Dharma page that is up. It will be up and user friendly. All right, now I've wasted enough time, or I've stalled so that other people can join and given some pertinent information. Let's go ahead and meditate. So finding a posture that's workable, that's sustainable, where you can feel relaxed and alert. It's helpful to allow the eyes to close. Or be downcast. Also helpful to just find that flexibility in the spine without rigidity, somewhere in the between. Allowing the attention to settle into the body. Making any subtle adjustments. Just allowing the attention to rest in the body. Could be a particular location like the belly or the chest. Could be a scanning from head to feet, feet to head, kind of sweeping through one breath at a time. Could be the overall sense of this body sitting. Allowing the breath to be relaxed, natural. Allowing the sounds, sound of my voice, the sounds outside the room, inside the room. Just be present. Good. So noticing whenever the attention wanders off, and with a sense of friendliness or kindness with the mind, just aiming the attention back to some aspect of this body awareness, sweeping or a particular location, even the breath in the body. Feeling the sensations of the body sitting. If you feel like the mind would benefit from a little tighter focus, bring the attention to the abdomen, specifically aware of the rise and fall of the abdomen with the breath, expansion, contraction. Allow that to be the focal point. The main thing to remember is whenever the attention wanders off, it's not a problem. It's an opportunity to recognize, to accept perhaps where the mind has gone, to investigate, is there something happening here in this body? the emotional body and the physical body. And then to non-personalize, not taking the mind thinking so personally. It's just doing its job. Again and again, just recognizing when the attention wanders off, and with a sense of friendliness or kindness with the mind, just aiming the attention back, reconnecting with the body, and then sustain that awareness, whether through sweeping or particular focus of the breath and the belly, the touch points, contact with the chair, the cushion, floor. Again and again. what's present here in this body. What can be known. What can be let go of. Perhaps the mind has become a bit concentrated. If so, the invitation is to expand to the breath and even further to spacious awareness, allowing all the phenomena to be present, and the awareness just resting in itself or in the phenomena itself. So there's a bodily sensation, the awareness rests there. Perhaps there's a thought or a story. The awareness perceives the story, the thought, just as that. There's a sound, a smell, a sensation, just like that. Exploration in open awareness, just as things are. Letting go of doing, just being here. developing a mind that is vast like space, where experiences of pleasant and unpleasant can appear and disappear without conflict, struggle, or harm. Rested a mind vast like the sky. What is your relationship to this mind, to this body, to this present time experience? Perhaps take a moment and just reflect what's happening here. Well, before I get into some topic, I just wanted to kind of open up for questions or reflections. Maybe that was less guidance than you've been used to. Maybe I gave a little bit of a different focus, more this term vipassana, insight, direct translation, insight practice. Kind of briefly led, I was like kind of grounding in the body and then opening up to just what is happening in experience. And I'm not sure what that was like for you. Might have been helpful, might have been a pain in the ass. I'm just kind of open to hearing, and also just is there any questions? So maybe we'll just kind of take a few reflections if there is any. Like, what was that experience like for you? And oh, someone's asking if I have a mic. You can't hear me very well. That's about as best I can do today. Sorry. Reflections. I will reflect on getting a mic next week. Please.
Um, so I've actually been doing a little bit of work on my own through an app in terms of this Vipassana.
Uh-huh.
And it always seemed like there was this implication that that when you look, you're in this kind of state of spatial awareness,
Mm-hmm.
that you should be able to kind of try to look for the observer and then have it kind of disappear or see that that is somehow an illusion. But I don't know, like I've tried that for a long time now, and I still haven't really grasped that. I wonder if there's any recommendations or like tips, or even if that's like really the end, should be the end result of that.
Great question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've heard that before too, and I've been given that kind of some kind of a pointed instruction. My experience of he's talking about the observer, and ultimately, are we, kind of trying to, like have the observer vanish into an open spaciousness? Well, then what's conscious and what's aware? Awareness of awareness itself. Sometimes it's called open awareness, right? Um, so my experience has been, it's a little bit like, when you like have a mirror, and then the mirror looks into a mirror, and then it's just this constant reflection of the mirror of the mirror of the mirror, or the reflection of you kind of keeping going. They have them in fancy hotels and maybe clubs. Those, like the mirror that goes into the mirror, it's wild. And I think that sometimes that like looking for the observer, or the trying to, like, who's observing the observer, and then who's observing me observing the observer. It can just get kind of a little too, I don't know. I just try to let go of all of it and just be with what is awareness, pure awareness, open awareness. Who cares what is aware of awareness? Can you just be with the awareness? That's kind of my take on that. And I mean, so there's that. And then I will say that my experience, although brief, has been that there can be a dissolving of that. There can be. Some traditions, they call it emptiness, or the not self experience. There can be a dissolving. There can even be a dissolving of what is this physical body, and it's pretty fucking trippy. And and I remember early on, actually, even kind of like my first few kind of really, really giving an honest effort to meditate. And I would have these weird experiences of like, yeah, I mean, it's just, it was like being on acid, like my torso would kind of extend. It's like those funny mirrors, since I'm using mirrors today. So like when you're at the fun house, and there's like the wide mirror, and then there's the one where the head gets really long, and then there's the, like, I had some of those, like I felt like that was happening in my body with my eyes closed, sitting cross-legged in meditation. And it's just a distortion of the boundaries well, this is my experience of it and my thought around it. It's a distortion of the boundaries that we're usually so confined by. And the same thing can be true, I think, with this kind of idea of observing the observer. That we're like, what? And then asking, I think Buddhism is asking, what's beyond the construct of what we think we know? And I don't know, but I really want to find out. I mean, that's why I took fucking handfuls of mushrooms. And that didn't get me there either. Brief moments, maybe. I'm so tempted to talk about mushrooms, but I'm not going to. All right, so Mike wanted to share reflection, question.
Yeah, I really like your reflection on the last question. And also, just a quick aside, like I didn't get any like answers from mescaline either, so but I'd love to talk about that, but I won't. Is when you talked about like trying to figure it all out or striving, I mean, the more stuff I read, different lineages and stuff, there can be contradictions, but I think that's just like ego or self looking for that stuff to bring up conjecture or bring up comparison or try to create some type of fixed views or whatever the case may be. And it just makes me, it brought me back to what like Ajahn Chah said about letting go. You let go a little, there's some peace. If you let go some more, there's more peace. If you let go completely, you'll be a complete peace. And then I can kind of like make that tie into what Ajahn Tomato says about, just all Dharma is non-self, and just let go of fixed views and just try to like abide in awareness, like that unconditioned awareness. Just let go and stop striving. And I've said this, I've had difficulty with this, and we've talked about it in the past. And I think when I realized that everything that originates is going to come to cessation, and I just sit there and I abide in that, and then watch feelings come and go, or emotions, thoughts, whatever, and just that's one thing that is completely true, is that everything that originates will come to cessation, and just be grateful, be grateful to have a human existence and be able to abide in that and watch it come and go. So I liked how you like unpacked the last question, because it kind of made sense with what I was thinking I wanted to reflect on. And also thanks for bringing up mushrooms too.
I mean, let's be real. Like, it's not why we're all here. To transcend, like the great Ram Dass or Munindra, Ram Dass's teacher. Transcend the hallucinogenic experience into a greater insight. I think a lot of people were. It is limiting. I don't think that there's a tolerance to meditation. I don't think that we can grow an addictive kind of tolerance so that it stops working, and then I don't know what. Then you have to do more. Maybe there's that. Maybe there's I think there's an honest striving for like more. And there's this teaching I love from the Buddha, and I've said it here before. He gave this analogy of the Dharma being like an ocean. That we start off on the beach, and there's just the little bit of shore, kind of a little bit of waves flapping against the shins. And then, as we go deeper, we get a little more submerged, and it's a little bit more submerged, and a little bit more submerged. And then pretty soon we're swimming, and then we're diving. And it's just the depth just continues. And the Dharma is like the ocean in that sense. That's why I learned how to scuba dive. Something else that was coming up. Oh yeah, so this spacious awareness. For some people, it can be super, useful and opening, helpful. For others, super fucking aggravating. So I want to make room for that. Some people, Noah was talking about this on Monday, it's just part of the teaching, that there's this combination of we have to have enough concentration to sustain attention, so that when we open to mindfulness, we can actually stay present and be mindful, right? So the concentration helps us to get, there's like a just enough, you know, like just enough concentration that it takes to like ride a bicycle, you know? Like you can't totally, you have to be fucking aware of what you're doing when you're riding a bicycle. Otherwise you're in traffic. And there's a sustainable amount of effort you need to have when you're riding a bicycle, unless you got one of those e-bikes. You still have to have the concentration. And then the mindfulness too. Like if you're just focused on what's right ahead of you, you're gonna crash into stuff. Too much concentration uh, will, you don't see the whole picture. You won't see what's around you. You don't see what's coming. You don't see that light turning green. So I like to think about it that way, like this kind of balance between having enough, so there's enough concentration. So during the beginning of the meditation, I was kind of like focus on the body. It was a light focus. It was a concentrated awareness, bringing it in. And then if you need a little bit more, come to the abdomen, right? Useful to do that. And you can even make it smaller and just like can you just get the subtle movement in the belly? I had a teacher in Burma that was like just there, just that subtle movement in the belly. Stay there. Get really curious about that for like 10 days. Like every day, what did you notice about your breath in your belly? Every day that I would check in, I would have a 10-minute check-in with this monk. What did you notice about your breath in your belly? And I was like, it rose, it I don't know. I have a lot of other thoughts going on in my head. No. Just there, he would say, just there. It was useful. Concentrated awareness. And then this kind of shifting to openness. Now, what I said is for some people, that's, that kind of open awareness is really great. And for others, it's just frustrating because there's a lot of other, there's no structure, right? Some people really like structure and they want it, that's concentration practice. Oh, that feels really good. Concentration practice feels good, And then there's other folks that are like, how do I feel too confined by the breath? I need to be spacious and open. And the Dharma makes room for it all. I see the question, and I'll get to it in just a second. The Dharma has room for it all. Nothing is left out. All the grief, all the pain, all the wisdom, all the joy. Room for it all. Megan.
Hey, yeah, I just had thoughts on, I can be one of those people where it can be very fucking challenging because I've had anxiety and trauma and, all this stuff that many of us have. And so I'm a structure person, right? That's where I thrive. But also early in my meditation practice, my only expectation was just to have the intention to sit it, just the intention to try it. It didn't mean I had to accomplish it, or have any other expectations than just set my intention to meditate, and whatever that looked like, it didn't really matter. And initially, I'm very dissociated from my body, so body cues weren't working for me, and so it could get super frustrating, but I just had to allow myself to be free with just whatever that experience is like. and just keep going back to it. You just have to keep going back and practice, practice. And then finally, after like a year, I was like, oh, it took more practice than I thought it would. And sometimes you have to force it a little bit, right? Because you just feel so disconnected from it. But I know for sure for me, I just kept going back to it despite how uncomfortable it was. And then I finally got there where I could be more open and expansive.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for saying that. There's a trust. Thank you. There's a trust that that has to develop in that. Just what I just said a few minutes ago about the Dharma has room for it all. Like this is the kind of vast expansion of safety that can be hard. Yeah. One second, could you? And so the grounding in the body, staying concentrated, staying close to the breath, using the repeated phrases of the heart practice, all of these things super helpful for, especially if there's a dissociative mind, and a dissociative mind is a mind that that will, or dissociative body where there's it's kind of disconnection, spacing out is a form of dissociative. In Buddhist language, it's called delusion. Delusion is not seeing clearly, but it's also escaping. Like whatever is happening here is so painful or so challenging that I can't be here for it. I think actually, Dustin, you were asking a question not that long ago about, and I was talking about how um, I would go off into fantasy in my mind, and then I would recognize um, that if I checked back in with the body and tried to stay connected with the body, there was something unpleasant that I didn't, whether it was a feeling or a thought, there was something that would happen. I would notice my mind doing these things. And sometimes it was future, and sometimes it was past. Um, and can we stay grounded or coming back like Megan, like you were just saying, and coming back to the practice, and then over time feeling more comfort, more safety, more spaciousness, perhaps more trust. I love that we don't have to trust right away. Like no one in Buddhism is saying you gotta believe this, and if they are, fucking run for the hills, because they're a weird cult. I remember being in, this is a little bit of an aside. I remember being in Thailand and I went to Ajahn Chah's monastery um, called Wat Pananachat, which basically just means kind of international monastery in northeastern Thailand. And I was planning on staying there. I wasn't sure how long, actually, a couple weeks, a month. One of my teachers, Ajahn Pasano, was there, and I was in Thailand, and so I went. And I went there, and then the whole time they were, all of the monks, for the first few weeks, it was just me and a couple other, Westerners, and all the monks that I was kind of interacting with were like, "When are you going to ordain? When are you going to ordain? Why are you here? Do you have a desire to ordain?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And I would go on all of these, would have all these conversations, and then the there's this point where if you stay more than a certain, what was it? If you stay more than a week, you have to shave your eyebrows. That's part of and take up some precepts, more than just the 5 precepts, the 8 precepts. It was a 10 precept rule to become what's called a pakao, I guess. It's like an anagarika or like a novice. None of that is true. It's a pakao, which means white, and it's like taking on the white robe, which is like the lowest position you can take to make a fucking commitment. Pretty non-committal. So I was like, all right, I'll shave my eyebrows. I'll take the white, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, but that trust that I had just to show up, I showed up without anything. I just knew that my teacher was there, and I knew that the beginning of this lineage was there, and I just got on a train and went there. I don't suggest you do that, actually. Luckily Ajahn Pasano was there, and they let me stay. Um, but there was a trust in the Dharma. Not sure where I was going with that. But I do have something that I want to read. It's one of my favorite teachings by Ajahn Chah. And just so you guys know, or if you guys don't know, Ajahn Chah or Longpo Cha was a meditation master. He died in the early '80s, mid '80s. Similar, like we just had Thich Nhat Hanh, who just passed, and he had been kind of in a coma, and he was like sick, and he had like a seizure or something, like a long time ago. Like it was several years that he'd been kind of incapacitated to a large degree, Thich Nhat Hanh, before he passed. And a similar thing happened to Ajahn Chah. And one of my main teachers was his direct student, Ajahn Sumedho, Longpo Sumedho, and Ajahn Amaro, also direct students of Ajahn Chah. So this lineage is really an unbroken lineage of, and it even goes back. There's Ajahn Mun. Ajahn Mun was this wild ascetic, lived in the forest and was like magical. Supposedly he was a magical northern Thailand, like lived in caves, lived in forests, and then Ajahn Chah went to go seek him out and received some teachings from him, and then became just his practice flourished in some way and became very well known, Ajahn Chah. And so just to say that much about who is Ajahn Chah. And then there's this book, it's called A Still Forest Pool. And it is a bunch of different translations, insight meditation by Ajahn Chah. It's compiled by Jack Cornfield and Paul Bratier. It's one of my first, one of my favorite, not my first, one of my favorite teachings from Ajahn Chah. A simple path. And I think this encapsulates like the way that this guy taught, and the way that there's a continuation of the way that he taught, even I think with Noah and myself, but I could be presumptuous with that. Traditionally, the Eightfold Path is taught with 8 steps: right understanding, right speech, right concentration, and so forth. But the true Eightfold Path is within us: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, a tongue, and a body. These 8 doors are our entire path, and the mind is the one that walks on the path. Know these doors, examine them, and all the dharmas will be revealed. The heart of the path is so simple. No need for long explanations. Give up clinging to love and hate. Just rest with things as they are. This is all I do in my own practice. Do not try to become anything. Do not make yourself into anything. Do not be a meditator. Do not become enlightened. When you sit, let it be. When you walk, let it be. Grasp at nothing. Resist nothing. Of course, there are dozens of meditation techniques like that can help to develop samadhi and many kinds of vipassana. Uh, but it all comes back to this: just let it all be. Step over here where it is cool, out of the battle. Why not give it a try? Do you dare? And just for those of you who may not know, samadhi is one pointed or concentrated awareness, and vipassana, insight, which we've talked about. And then I like that it's like a dare at the end. Like, do you dare? Are you really willing? Are you fucking hardcore? Like, are you going to be hardcore? Because this shit's hardcore. But you don't need much. You don't need to have a fancy bell, and you don't need to have the right pants. You don't need to have, can you just be inhabiting this body and sustain attention in the present moment? I love that. And all that, don't try to be a meditator. I think that this is one of the things that's kind of come up with the Mick mindfulness, and it's a little bit also the kind of the yoga movement. Yoga was not something something only the hippies did, and only while they were on acid, and only out in the desert, until probably the 80s, maybe even 90s actually. Yeah, probably not even in the 80s. There was very little like established yoga like there is now. And I think like meditation in the West has been very similar. It was kind of boutique, and then it's becoming more and more widespread. But as that happens, there's two tendencies. One is to overcomplicate, and one is to kind of commercialize, like water it down a little bit, make it a little more palatable. And I like to just keep it simple, the simple path. That's what I love about the teachings of Ajahn Chah. And it's why we also, we don't get into big, deep, long philosophical. I mean, sure, my mind goes there, but so much of it is just like, it's just the mind fucking masturbating. It's just the mind masturbating on it while looking at itself. It's like narcissism. I'm so hot. I'm so smart. I fucking got this. And the Buddha, Ajahn Chah and the Buddha is like, drop that. It's actually not that helpful. Hope that wasn't too offensive. Yeah, I wasn't talking about. Yeah, I think we do it. Mental masturbation, all the time. All right. Thoughts, questions, ideas, reflections.
Yeah, Jason, Mark. I really like what you were saying about the keeping it simple stuff. So many people like go overboard with everything, like you said, the right pants, and it's like, look at me, I'm a Buddhist. And I mean, very few people even know that I practice, but they have noticed over the last few years a change in me. And some have even asked, there's something different about you. And I think because of the practice, just very subtle changes in the way I react to things and the way I deal with people and react to situations in my life. And it's real apparent. That's one thing. I listen to Jack Kornfield a lot. And he's just, the way he teaches, and it's just so simple, and he tells little stories about little life situations and the way people react and the results of that. And it's just really encouraging and inviting to be like that instead of being so elaborate about things. So I like the fact that this practice and our Sangha is that way. There's not a bunch of big heads and people trying to outdo each other and things like that. We're all pretty level playing field with each other, and a lot of respect and love and all that. So I really enjoy your teachings too. So thank you.
Thanks, bro. Good to have you back. Missed you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, bro.
All right. Yeah, and I mean, again, back to there's room for it all. Some people find the Dharma through reading 25 books and doing a comparative religious study of all the sects of Buddhism, and then they meditate. Sometimes that's what happens, and sometimes people, go to their first, whatever meditation class, and they're like, oh, and maybe it's here, or maybe it's with me, or maybe it's, somewhere else. Maybe it's on nowadays. Maybe it's on the Calm app or the, whatever app. Right? And there's room for it all. Sam Harris and a ex-junkie, like myself. All right, Mike. Double dipping.
I am double dipping. And
Sleep.
I love Mahjong Tomato, like, because he gets it simple too. Like, with the saying right now, it's like this: just honor all feelings and just abide in them, and then change your relationship to them with kindness, compassion, and investigation. Just sit with them. Don't try to annihilate them. Don't take it personally. Like, just like you said earlier, just be, and then like even I mean, I look at all the other lineages and stuff like that too, and like Joseph Goldstein has a book, One Dharma, and it's just looking at all the other stuff and not comparing and not like setting up arguments, or it's just like, and I did that early on, and I'm still new to this, but I kind of like Joseph Goldstein's vision that everything that you look at can be helpful, and it is you abide in it and not, contend to create conflict with it also. That's all I got. Thanks. Double dip.
Thanks, bro. Can always count on you. Anyone else? Any other questions? About in the room.
I'm curious about how he was talking about. I really love that reading, and how he was talking about how the 8, sense doors translate to the Eightfold Path.
Yeah, just this idea. I mean, well, what do you think about it?
Well, I was just thinking maybe like there's a certain way that like the right intention, maybe that would fit with ears. I don't know, or maybe I was mishearing it.
I mean, I like the way you're thinking about it. He's talking about the, the reading and the, basically he was just kind of naming out the senses. Is the way I kind of see it, and like saying, come to your senses and stay connected, because all of those sense doors are here and now. They are all their present time experience, and it's where the awakening happens. So it's where all of this is my interpretation, all of the 8 folds of the path come together. That's the way I understand it. Not necessarily like hearing is right, right action, or right, mindfulness, or I don't think that. I could be wrong, but maybe that's totally because that whole teaching missed me for probably a couple of years. So I was just like, what's he talking about? Why is he trying to dare me? Who is this old dude? How come he never looks like he's smiling in any pictures? But
Yeah, I like the analogy saying like
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is a great little book. It's got a bunch of different. He's even got some Q&A, so they're like little snippets, and then it's like lessons in the forest and different. There's it's a good little book. I'm pretty sure Mike put it up there. If you, it's probably for free somewhere. Um, yeah. Any other? There we go.
I have a question, um, or kind of a reflection on what you were talking about with the sort of how we can stoke up our egos, or like the self-aggrandizing, and I guess how to develop a healthy self-image without doing that. And I mean, I just in the meditation alone, a lot of the judgment falls away. So I'm thinking, you don't need to go too far to the extreme of telling yourself you're the shit and all of that to force you to believe it. I mean, I felt it just kind of all dissipating away just through the meditation and just being. But yeah, if you had anything to add to it or reflect on how to cultivate that just healthy sense of self.
Yeah. Well, there is thanks. That's a great question. There's uh, a pretty well-known statement now around Buddhist psychology that in order to really to realize no self or not self, anatta, we have to have a healthy sense of self, a self, uh, like it's a solidity. So kind of like what that person was saying earlier around, like needing the concentration, the grounding, and the, to develop a strong enough sense of self. If we're totally diffuse and um, dissociated, which lots of people come to meditation and that's what they do, is they just become dissociated, right? And again, mushrooms and acid and kind of uh, having peak experiences to get out of my body. And the Buddha is like, no, be in your body, stay connected to what's happening here, right? And that's kind of what Ajahn Chah is saying around using the senses. So we have to have a strong sense of self, yeah. But not necessarily an over, which we all do, because remember, we masturbate with our minds, right? So we have an overindulgent sense of importance in what we think and who we are, and that is a poison. It's a poison that I think what you described in your own meditation practice, that's, yeah, some of that falls away. I think I was kind of saying something like that earlier, like that there is this kind of the shedding, um, the shedding of the egoic self, and it's scary. But that is, and that's why a lot of people actually kind of keep Buddhism or meditation on a surface level. Like, oh, I like the mindfulness. I feel like the concentration is helpful for me. Um, the precepts, yeah, they're good principles, but this kind of like not self, or this like rebirth, or some of the kind of karmic or deeper kind of concepts. They're like, I don't know about that because it's scary. And sometimes the delusion wants us to believe that well, no, let me restate that. The delusion always wants us to believe that we are a solid, fixed, permanent self. Because that's what the ego is wrapped around. And the disidentification found here within Buddhism is saying none of that is true. This, I can find it again. The teaching that I read during the meditation, not that one, but that one's similar. I'll get it. Just give me a second. These are my notes from the meditation retreats. Some of the meditation retreats I had been on. As you see, it's really thick. Develop a mind that is vast like space, where experiences, both pleasant and unpleasant, can appear and disappear without conflict, struggle, or harm. Rest in a mind like the vast sky. I think this is the Buddha, that's a teaching from the Buddha. I think this is the Buddha saying, ultimately spacious awareness. But after, concentration and developing mindfulness and having a full, let's get clear. So the Buddha, raised in whatever the system that he was raised in, Brahmanic system, Hindu system, there was some yoga, there was, some prayer, there was some, then went to a concentration practice, samadhi, and did only that. Samadhi, deep levels of transcendent concentration. So trained that way, and then went and did super, super hardcore, 5 times a day Ashtanga yoga. Well, I'm just gonna call it Ashtanga yoga. Who fucking knows what it really was, but something. And did all of that. That was like grounding, practice, and then tried to let go of the self by disidentifying with the body. So starving the body, not doing what the body wanted, not just being like. And then he was trying to kind of have a dissociative experience, right? That was beyond the kind of meditative. And then what he discovered is that doesn't work either. I'm not sure if anything I just said was helpful. But
No, it definitely was.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Something
you.
about a strong sense of self. Yeah, it's useful.
Yeah.
But not to be over-identified with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, finding the balance versus, I don't know, because a lot of the times what psychologists will tell you, or what my therapist tells me a lot of the times is to, recite certain things about yourself, and different mantras. And that stuff does help, but I don't, in comparison to just being in meditation, it doesn't have much on it. Something else happens. So
that I like what you just said. That what you just described. That's what is it called? Like it's like thought changing. It's like, okay, like I have a negative thought of like I'm a piece of shit, I'm a horrible person, and so if I create a different narrative by utilizing, it's not actually called thought changing. There's another. Well, it's similar to what's kind of cognitive behavioral therapy. What were you gonna say? Yeah. It's definitely like a form of affirmation, right? But what's actually happening is that you're mentally kind of obsessing on this kind of thought, and then you're shifting. So it's thought. There's like some term for it I used the other day. I can't remember now. But basically, it's the idea of replacing a thought and with another thought. And what Buddhism is describing is, yeah, that could be helpful for a time, right? And it can, and affirmations can be helpful, and using cognitive behavioral therapy can be helpful, but that's all top down. And meditation is bottom up, is saying, what is here? And can I allow it to be? That's kind of what I heard you say. Like, can I allow these thoughts? You know what? Your worst thought isn't going to kill you if you just see it as a thought. Your worst thought that you believe, the thought that says, I should kill myself, or I don't deserve to live, or whatever those series of thoughts are different for different people. But if you can just see it as a thought, your emotions are not going to kill you. Your memories are not going to kill you. And Buddhism is saying, see that for what it is.
Kind of like we're attached to our thoughts, so let go of that story, let go of that attachment, right? See the thought, have the feeling, but the story is not true, and that attachment to that story needs to you need to let it go.
Yes, and I think the trick there is to not like make it go.
Right, not yes.
Not
Yes.
like get away from me, bad
Right.
thought.
Yeah.
Right?
Not trying.
Banish you, because that doesn't work either.
No, that does not work.
Yeah, and this is the what in Buddhism they call the razor's edge. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you said it's scary, because when in the brief fleeting moments that I've had during meditation, when those things do fall away,
Yeah.
and I feel that sense of open awareness, that is fucking scary.
Mhm.
And immediately the thoughts come back, because uncovering that when the delusion falls away, that's scarier than the delusion or anything else. So how do you get to the point where you can actually be comfortable in that and then experience it for more than like a nanosecond,
Mhm.
because you're just running back to your habits?
Mhm. That is the anatta experience, the anatta, the not self experience. It's the ego that grasps back because it's familiar, it's predictable, it's safe, and it's painful. And so, what do we need to do? I don't know. The opposite of that: unfamiliar, unpredictable, a little unsafe, and opening or freeing. Well, and when that anxiety, because that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is like, don't, no, you have to keep thinking about this, right? Well, no, you don't. You actually don't. We're out of time. Those are great. Thank you and I don't have a clear answer. I've experienced that myself too, where it drops away and then it's terrifying. And what my experience is, and what my understanding of the teaching is that gap widens, and that is really that's what we're hopefully trying to do. Thank you for your time and attention. Again, please, you can follow me on Instagram at the No BS Buddhist, and I will do updates. And then also, please, you can go to my website, jasonmurphymft.com. Starting next week, we will have a new Zoom link. And if you haven't signed up on my website, please do so, and I'm going to send the link out to all those people and have it be available. Of course, and all the donations here support the center, and also me. If you feel like supporting me and my teaching, you can do so on Venmo. Basically, the best way, Jason Murphy or No BS Buddhist. It's the best kind of ways to find me. And then against the stream meditation, or you can click the link. Although Michael's put all kinds of links, like he's got like some Ajahn Chah and some. Thanks, man. You're good, bro. Appreciate you. But there's a link for against the stream there, or there's a Venmo with against the stream meditation. Thank you for your time and attention, and let's just gather all the goodness. Sometimes they call it merit. All the goodness of our practice, the effort, the openness, the exploration, and know that we do this practice not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of all beings as we create a positive change in ourselves, naturally create a positive change in the world. Peace out.